We're going to continue. We're still talking about money. And we defined money. We said it's two types: bullion and merchandise. And merchandise includes any currency, paper money, or coins that are not gold or silver. We talked about other ways of dividing up money, like whether it's consumable or not. And we talked about uh, the fact that you pay your price for a good or a service. So the service is like money. Service, yani, service slash benefit slash right. You're paying for a right. You buy a right. You buy a benefit. You buy a service or pay for a service. All these words are abstract, meaning not objects. And we talked about how to determine if your money is valued or replaceable. And then we started talking about merchandise more specifically. And there was one thing that I mentioned for you that I want to just update for you here. So it says merchandise must be pure and have a lawful, religiously recognized, normally sought benefit, like being useful for hunting, eating, fighting, and load bearing, even if obtaining it were effortless. What it used to say was it can be an investment. Now listen back to the recording. Then I knew I need to put the word future in there. It can be a future investment. That means not good for you now. It's not useful now. So you can buy something that's presently useless for the future investment, yani the benefit of using it in the future. Like a young donkey. Now we want to talk a little bit more about merchandise. The author says, just as it is valid to make the dowry a monetary payment or a benefit, it is valid to purchase a benefit. Sorry, it is valid to purchase a permanent benefit, like the right to have water routed to one's land. Okay, so you're accustomed to the way of the book now, so you know that when we go through these dealings, we're inserting here and there all over the place. We're sprinkling rules of marriage in there because it's a type of contract, because it's so important to know the rules of marriage properly. So we're talking about money now. So we now inserted some talk about the dowry. Just as it is valid to make the dowry a monetary payment or a benefit, it is valid to purchase a permanent benefit. So what that means is that it's like you already know. You can buy an object or you can buy a benefit, which is a right. What's our standard example for buying a right? The second time I'm asking now. Not in this session, but I asked you before. What's the standard example of purchasing a right? Standard example means like when you're just learning and then you just get an example. That's going to be the example that you're going to give to everyone you teach for the first time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Buying the right to have water routed to your land. Yes, buying the right to have water routed to your land. Yes. So that's an example. And then in this time of ours, there's other things we can conceive more because we get gas and electricity and internet and things like that routed to us. Okay, so you can buy an object. You can spend your money on an object, or you can spend your money on a right as long as it fulfills conditions. Now we want to sprinkle in here an issue pertaining to marriage. The dowry. Following this, the dowry could be a monetary payment or a benefit. The dowry itself could be an object, which is money, or it can be a benefit that's as good as money. like a service. Like to take her to Hajj, that's valid dowry. Or to teach her something. To teach her to read, or to teach her obligatory knowledge, or to teach her to recite the Quran, or to teach her stitching. So it's valid for dowry to be what we're calling here a monetary payment. That means an object or a benefit. Just as that's valid, it's valid to purchase a permanent benefit, like you already know, like the right to have water routed to one's land. Though this is rare, meaning compared to buying an object, you're more going to buy an object more than you're going to buy a right. You might rent a right more than you buy one, meaning rent a service or hire a service more than you actually buy one. What's the difference? What's the difference between buying a right and renting a right? Should be obvious for you. What's the difference between buying a right and renting a right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say again, please.
You have ownership of the right that you bought.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to not owning the right that you're renting out.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So, Yani, you own what you bought, meaning the object of it. And in renting, you don't own the right to the object you're renting out. But I was really looking for a different answer, though. That's correct, though. It's linked. They're very close hand in hand, what I was looking for. I'll do another countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Purchase is permanent. Rental is temporary. So when you buy something, it's yours until something makes it not yours anymore. Like you sell it, or you give it as a gift, or you die, and then someone inherits it. Rental is temporary. So when the time runs out, then you don't have the right anymore. So it's possible to purchase a right. That means permanent. What we took here is that's rare. And an example is buying the right to have water routed to your land. And then I added a comment for you. I said, but maybe it's more common to rent a right as opposed to buying one. Okay. So just as it is valid to make the dowry a monetary payment, that means an object. Monetary payment could be jewelry, could be a book, could be clothing, land, etc. Could also be a partnership, a share. The share is like money. So you could sell your share, or you could give your share as a dowry. You have a valid share in a partnership. You could marry a woman and make your share her dowry, and it becomes her share. Okay, let me see what somebody wrote here. You said buying the water is temporary too? No, because buying is never temporary. Buying is never temporary. You don't buy something temporarily. You rent it temporary. If you don't want to keep something, you want to have it now for a time, but you don't want to keep it, then you rent it. And consumables can't be rented. Consumables can't be rented. And water is consumable. Okay, so just as it is valid to make the dowry a monetary payment or a benefit, it is valid to purchase a permanent benefit. Like the route to have water routed to one's land. That's permanent. So that means that route's your route now. Goes right through your neighbor's land, for example. If somebody bought your neighbor's land, he can't take that route from you. It doesn't mean you own the land also. So you bought something abstract. He can make a settlement with you. Maybe you can make a new arrangements. A woman can be given in marriage for a dowry. Uh, so this statement here compares a woman to money herself. This statement here compares the woman to money herself. No harm in her comparing herself to money. She's not money though, but she has value, and depending on her stats, if you'll accept that, then her value is more or less. We're talking here about marriage, not talking about business. Yeah, marriage is a business deal, but I'm not talking about commerce here. So a woman can be given in marriage for a dowry. So that's deal right there. The dowry does not have to be a khula payment. The dowry does not have to be a khula payment. It's possible to reverse that sentence. Maybe reversing it makes it even more clear. The khula payment doesn't have to be the dowry. So it's khula. You know what's khula? That's when the woman says to her husband, for example, release me for such and such. So if he says, khala'atuki ala kada, I give you khula for such and such amount. Or for such and such, whatever, yani, it's all money. So it should be clear for you. It's all money. You have a house, so if you got some, yani, your steps, that's part of your money. Cement steps you have, for example. All of that's money. Maybe you had some cement work done right around the rim of your lawn. That's all money. So he says to her, "Khalatuki ala kada." I give you khula for such and such, whatever that money is. So this payment for khula to be released from the marriage doesn't have to be the dowry itself. That's what some people think. That's not true though. It's not a condition. Maybe they think that because of the hadith when the woman went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and told him alayhi salatu wasalam that her husband, I think they were newlywed, she has no problem with his religion. He's a good Muslim, but she doesn't like him. Turns out he's not her type of man, but his religion is great. And she told the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that she feared to not fulfill his rights. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Are you willing to return the garden that you were given as a dowry?" She said yes. So he commanded that man to divorce her for the garden that he gave her. So this hadith does not mean that it's a condition that the payment for khula has to be what was given as the dowry. And since we're here, I'll remind you that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the women like about the men what the men like about the women. Some people have some bad advice as far as the woman not having a man that she likes, that yani who's attractive to her. It's not the case. The Prophet advises us. He advises us. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. So the dowry does not have to be a khula payment. And the exchange in the khula, what's the exchange? Is the breach for the payment. Thinking this might be in the wrong spots for some reason. If I remember right, I moved this paragraph once or twice, going back and forth between somewhere. So we'll see here, and then either I'll leave it here or I'll put it somewhere else. Because it's talking about exchange right now. And we have a section about exchange. So how is this here? Exchange means what's one side gets, what the other side gets. So we were talking about money. We divided up money into all its different categories. There's even also another way of categorizing for you. Also, I could mention for you, which is that some money is mobile or transportable, and some of it is not. What's not mobile? Real estate. So we talked about the money here. Then we talked about some things. Yeah. Then we talked about the merchandise. Now somehow we start talking about exchange. Or is it because we're looking at what's the money? It's exchange. So if you look at it from one perspective, we're looking at an exchange here in these sentences. But if you look at it from another perspective, we're talking about what's the money on each side, or supposedly the money. So a woman can be given in marriage for a dowry. She's not really money though. And the khula, if you do a khula, what's being exchanged here? The release for the payment. Khula is a woman paying her own ransom. Subhanallah. So I told you so many times. The woman needs to be mindful whom she marries. Her situation will be uh, could possibly be not desirable one. Yani, she might find herself miserable, if I put it in layman's terms. Miserable with someone who's not going to divorce her. Doesn't she know before she gets married that she can't easily get out of that marriage? She does know. So let her not take that lightly. This one sister, subhanAllah, was talking to her. She's like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. She's not happy. I told the sister, I thought you knew. Yo, no. It's not easy after that. Even if she has a good man, a merciful man, doesn't mean he's going to let her go easy. So the exchange in khula is the breach for the payment. If its payment is sought but not religiously marketable, then the khula is still valid. What does that mean? If its payment is sought, like something people seek. Now we talk about deals and money and possessions, objects, things of interest. So some things are sought or sought after. I'll put the word after there. Sought after. If its payment is sought after, like what? Like wine or a dog. Maybe it's a poodle or Rottweiler or something. Great Dane. Very interesting stuff. But it's not money though. Not religiously marketable though. If the khula payment is something sought after, so sought after includes wine and dogs, but it's not religiously marketable, that means it's not money, then the khula is valid. And then she has to pay what a woman like her would pay as a dowry. That's what the khula is going to be. That's the payment. Because the rule is whatever's valid to be a dowry is valid to be khula. And when tending means, as you know, tending to date palms and grapevines in particular. What's the money on both sides? The work is exchanged for a percentage of the fruit. So it's the work for a percentage. And you know, usually you cannot hire for a percentage. In this deal, you can get a percentage. Tending. What's another deal in which it's valid to take a percentage, to agree to a percentage? What's another deal in which it is valid to agree to a percentage? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, Partnership, yes. Correct answer. Give me another one without renewing the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Profit sharing. Profit sharing. So you're going to get paid a percentage when it comes to tending date palms, and grapevines. It means you don't know how much you're going to really get paid because you don't know how many fruits are going to be viable. Maybe the whole harvest will get sick. Who knows? So when you're agreeing to a percentage, it means you don't know exactly how much you're going to get actually. That's why you need to keep that type in mind. What's the difference between getting paid uh, a known salary and getting paid a percentage? When you're getting paid a percentage, then you're entering into the realm of the unknown. So then you're not going to want to get paid a percentage, and you can't be paid a percentage except sometimes. Tending to date palms and grapevines, you get a percentage that you agreed on. Also, partnership. In partnership, you get a percentage, regardless of who works and who doesn't work. It all depends on your contribution. And in profit sharing, there's a percentage. Profit sharing is what? Profit sharing is one person has the money, the other person does the trading. The work is the trading, not more. Trading is the buying and selling, not processing and all of that and preparation and all these types of things. Okay, right there, that was digression. Just wanted to squeeze it in for you, just for the sake of the repetition. Getting paid a percentage, what's tending, what's profit sharing. Profit sharing, one person has the money, other person does the trading. That's the deal. We're not going to call that partnership. And we're not going to call it hiring also. Because when you hire, you don't pay a percentage. And for other reasons. All right, so moving right along here. We're still talking about money. The likes of lions and tigers lack marketable usefulness. What are you going to do with a lion? So you can't buy one, you can't sell it either. Lions and tigers and what's like them? Wolves, bears, all of that lacks marketable usefulness, meaning it's not money. Being able to put them into a zoo, that's not good enough to make them money. Maybe you're a king and you want to tie a lion to your throne so people will respect you. That's not good enough. But can you acquire one? You can acquire one. So they cannot be sold, but they can be acquired. And they are not owned by whoever has them, but could be under your control, though. If something's under your control, it's not permissible for someone to just come and take it from you. That's what a dog is. A dog is under your control. Or we can say in another way, it's in your possession. And I'm going to try to make a difference. Make sure when I talk, I make a difference between ownership and possession. I mean by possession, it's in your physical, it's in your hand, it's in your control. Same thing for najasa. If you had najasa, like horse manure, or alcohol, this najasa, you don't own it, but it's in your control, so no one can come and take it from you, or it's in your possession. We covered that at the beginning of the book, what it means to own something. Also, not permissible is vermin. And vermin here means not just insects. Vermin includes snakes and mice, and includes other types of wretched creatures. So you can't just buy scorpions and tarantulas. One Muslim youth was interested in working in the pet shop. I got some issues here. You have to be careful here because they'll sell anything. They'll sell things that are not money. They'll sell crickets, tarantulas, and stuff like that. It's not valid. Except the beneficial type of vermin, like the leech, because it has medicinal benefit, and the silkworm. So why are they not money? You can feel free to take the mic too if you want to. Yeah, those are not money. The vermin, because they don't have religiously recognized benefit. Because what you're going to do with a roach, for example, the cat, that one is money. That's valid. Like we did mention that last week. It's money. It has religiously recognized benefit, which is that it catches mice. And it's not a condition that you want the cat because you have mice. Once it has religiously recognized benefit, you can buy it. But mouse doesn't have religiously recognized benefit. Say again, please. Yeah, even you don't need it for that benefit. It just has to have that benefit to make it sellable. I mean, what feet? So these don't have religiously recognized benefit. These vermins. That's not to say they don't have any benefit. Remember, yani, I'll remind you of the saying of Allah Ta'ala. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. It means, oh Muhammad, they ask you about wine and gambling. Respond. Both of them have big harm and benefits for the people. And they both have benefits for the people. But their harm is greater than their benefit. So when we say it doesn't have religiously recognized benefit, doesn't mean it doesn't have any benefit in any way whatsoever, no matter how you look at it. Wine has benefits. Like if you're cold, you could drink some and get warm. That's a benefit. Or if you have a cut, you could pour some over your cut. It could be a disinfectant for you. But that's not good enough to make it lawful. Same thing for the gambling. This is Ayah 219 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Same thing for gambling. What's the benefit? You can get quick money like that, but the harm of this is way more than the benefit. Probably I don't need to give you examples, So like that, these vermins, what you gonna do with them? What you gonna do with a roach, for example, or tarantula? The people really usually go out of their way to get rid of the roaches. How somebody's gonna buy a roach? Wa alaikum assalam. The lizard, yeah, the lizard's like lizard's a vermin, unless it's edible. But you can't buy that. You can't buy those. If it needs,
Okay, so
if
you would
it's
just have to like catch it.
yeah, for example. And I don't know what's the judgment of finding the live Amin Wafikum. I don't know what's the judgment of capturing the live vermin to feed it to another vermin. I don't know what's the judgment of that. One thing, if the animal catch the other one on its own, it's another thing to trap it and basically put it up against its killer. Put it in the face of its killer so that its killer will kill it. So I don't know what's the judgment of that. That's why this is what concerns me.
Shay, could you buy, say if there was a jar full of crickets, could you just buy the jar?
You could just buy the jar.
Like the contract for the jar?
Yeah. You could buy the jar and take its contents. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could. I mean, Rafiqul. Yeah, you could buy the cage and take the contents for free. No, mashallah. Wa alaikum salam. Sorry. If you buy the cage, okay, so a person says, I want this cage, and this cage has an animal in it, a vermin in it, and then the worker brings him a different cage but with the same vermin. That's the question. Okay, so here's in this scenario, it's still going to be valid to buy this cage because you're still in the same session. Yeah, because you're still in the same session. So it's enough to say, all right, I'll take this one. That's cool. I'll take this cage. As long as it's clear to him that you're not buying the contents. That part has to be clear to him, because if it's not, then it means he thinks you're buying the contents. No. Correct. That would be just like if you was in a restaurant and then you said, no, don't give me this one. Give me this one. I'll take this one instead. You're still in the same session. No problem. I mean, Wafiq. So buying worms to hook them onto the fish hook, this is not confirmed for us that this is a religiously recognized benefit. We haven't confirmed that that's religiously recognized benefit. Rather, the rule that we learned is that the worms are included in the vermin that you cannot buy. That's number one. And number two, impaling the worm is haram because you can't torture it like this. Well, you can get the worms for without paying for them, like buy the container and take the worms for free, and then maybe tie the worm to the hook instead of impaling the worm with the hook. No. Yes. Uh huh. According to a saying, the boiling water is sufficient. But blue crab, though, if that's the crab that can live outside of the water, it's not lawful according to a Shafi'i. If the blue crab is the one that can come out of the water and stay out of the water, then it's not. The king crabs, though, and the Dungeness crabs, they say those ones don't come out of the water. The big ones, those ones with the long legs and long claws, uh, you can eat those. According to a Shafi'i. So according to a Shafi'i, because Malik has a whole nother approach to how to kill the animals. Yeah. Yeah, according to a saying, that's enough. Because it's the way to kill it. Because they say if you don't do it that way, then its flesh will be poisonous. Isn't that what they say? Yeah, I think that's what they say. That's why they cook it like that. Allah knows. But anyway, I did hear this, that according to a way, that's valid. You don't have to worry about it if they throw it in there into the boiling water alive. You're welcome. So the likes of lions and tigers lack marketable usefulness. So they cannot be sold, and they are not owned by whoever has them. So some people, they might have rats or all kinds of things. Uh, Praying mantis, etc. Also not permissible is vermin, except the beneficial type, like the leech, the silkworm. Silkworm is beneficial, has religiously recognized benefit. And it has silk that comes from it when it's alive and silk that comes from it when it's dead. And beehive with its queen, that's beneficial too. Books of blasphemy are not beneficial, though, and that means the topic of the book is blasphemy. Not that there's a blasphemous statement in there. Some people, they didn't know what the topic of the book means. Topic means what the book is about. Is it a history book? Is it a math book? Or what? So if the topic is blasphemy, then you cannot sell that book. But if it has blasphemy in it, you can sell that book. But the topic's not blasphemy, like it's a math book or a history book, as well as books of sorcery. That's haram. Haram, major sin. The sorcery is a major sin. Astrology, that's basically fortune telling. And philosophy, which is corrupted mind, corrupted thinking, without me going into details. And nor are forbidden musical instruments. All of that's not money. Forbidden musical instruments. Guitars, pianos, flutes. Also, it is not permissible to buy or sell 1 or 2 grains of wheat. Or what's like wheat, like rice or barley. For they lack value, 1 or 2 grains of wheat, and they are not usually sought. Nor burnt bread. Burnt bread is useless. No matter how much you might hope to eat that burnt bread, it only takes you a bite or two to give up hope. It was already stated that filth cannot be sold, and why? So we talked about that. So dog is not money, and wine is not money, and manure is not money, and haram meat is not money. One can hire a broker. Broker is the one who helps you seal your deal, who helps you to make your deal and finalize it, helps you find customer and finalize your deal. That's valid work. So that's valid benefit. That's a job you can pay for. Or a religious teacher, that's a job you can pay for. And we put religious there on purpose to be explicit about that. The Hanafi said you cannot charge for teaching Quran or Hadith. The Shafi'is don't agree. Shafi'i said you can charge for teaching Quran or Hadith. But not a singer. You cannot hire a singer. It's not a valid profession. Subhanallah. It's interesting, subhanallah, after learning about religion, learning fiqh, and then looking back, it's clear why this is invalid industry, but might not be clear for a lot of people. Why this music industry and also acting and also sports, these are not valid industries. When I say valid industry, I'm talking about being hired. I'm not talking about just getting a prize. You can get a prize. If you sung and then someone gave you a prize, that's not haram. If you played a game and someone gave you a prize, that's not haram. But you can't be hired to be a singer. That's different. And that's not valid. And when it comes to acting too, you have to be mindful about lying. Because it's not permissible to lie. It is not permissible to be paid to lie. It's not going to be not lying. It's not going to be not lying. It's still going to be lying. That's why actors, you need to be mindful of those. Those ones are, it's a good chance this one is professional hypocrite. Because he's a professional liar, yeah. So he's so used to lying straight face. So used to lying without budging. There was a story about a judge. 2 people were brought to him for being suspected of stealing. So those 2 people were in front of him. He wanted to determine who he's going to question. So he took a glass and he threw it on the ground and shattered it into pieces. So one of those men, he jumped when the judge did that. The other one, he didn't jump. The judge said, that one, the one who didn't jump, take him. You know why he did that? Maybe you know, or maybe some of you don't know, because he's saying this one, he's bold. He has audacity. The other one, he's shook. He gets shook by broken glass. Doesn't have his heart's not strong. He doesn't have guts. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. That's why you cannot underestimate those Muslim scholars. Some people think those Muslim scholars, a lot of stuff they don't know what they're talking about. Then they want to go and talk to a therapist instead of talking to a good Muslim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm going far now. So, not a singer. That means can't be a contract. And same thing for the actor. And same thing for player. She's playing games. When you hire someone, you hire him for a benefit to come back to you. So you don't hire somebody to play a game. And what do they talk about? They talk about owning a ball team. How do you own a ball team? You don't own the ball team. Nor rent an apple to sniff it. We talked about that. Renting an apple to sniff it. Nor renting a slave girl for pleasure. That's not valid. Not renting her nor having permission. It's not valid. Only the master can enjoy the body of that slave woman if she's not married. If she's married, then only her husband. Also, what lacks monetary value cannot be a dowry or a payment for a khula. We just talked about that. And what lacks honor, i.e., religiously recognized benefit, like a forbidden instrument or an idol, cannot be held for safekeeping. What lacks honor, meaning religiously recognized benefit, like forbidden instrument or an idol, cannot be held for safekeeping. That's clear. Wallahu a'lam. Allah knows best. We'll start talking about exchanging, inshallah, next week. Then I'll see what's here and why is that other paragraph up there talking about exchanging. Should I put it down here or leave it up there? Do you have any question I can answer?
And that so-called team owner, right?
Yes, not a valid one.
So it's paying to go see this
I don't know that that's valid. Rather, one might rent a chair. Like similar to how we talked about the movies. One might rent a seat, for example, not pay to see the movie. Basically, when it comes to paying for entertainment, you need to be mindful about that. That's what all these are boiling down to here. The singing, the acting, the games is all paying for entertainment. You can buy toys. That's permissible. That's valid. Buying toys, buying games, buying balls, things like that. That's all valid. But paying someone to play games, you can't do that. Or to sing songs or to lie, basically. Yani, or just to act, paying him to act, that's not valid. And then just paying to watch the movie, that's not valid. But one might rent a chair. Renting a chair is valid. I mean, wafi. Question. Yeah, wa alaikum salam. No, don't say it that way. Because buying the ticket is different from renting the chair. So you just say, I want to rent a chair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because rental has to be, the time has to be specified. Yes. For example, yeah, yeah. That's like, for example, if he said I'll rent it for 2 hours, even if he left before 2 hours, still his chair until the time runs out. You can sit there with your permission. Say I don't mind if someone sits in this chair before my time runs out.
Okay.
No. There was a question here. It says, is it not permissible to buy a turtle? If the turtle is edible, then you can buy it. If it's not edible, then I don't know why it would be bought. I don't know what else it would be useful for. So, other than being food, if it's edible, I don't know what would make it marketable. You said some say that being a lawyer is haram because one has to lie. Is this true? No, no, not. It's not because he has to lie that's haram. Haram. Uh, but if he's ruling by other than the law of Allah, then that's going to be a major sin. I know I'm saying ruling here. Yeah, he's not the judge. The lawyer's not the judge, but he's has to be careful here. It's how he's going to depends on what his job is. He might. It's possible that a person could be a lawyer, and his job enables him, depending on what it is that he does, enables him to not do something haram. So if he doesn't do something haram, it's not haram. But being a judge, though, for kafir government, I don't know how he's going to avoid haram. Lawyer maybe, but judge, I don't know how he could. One brother, he wanted to be a type of judge. I won't say more so that I won't give idea who he is. Maybe, but he wanted to be a judge. I don't know if he ever got the position, but I talked to him. I told him, I advised him against it. How are you going to be able to not do haram? How are you going to be able to not judge by other than the law of Allah? You might find a person for something religiously you can't find him for. It might be the law that you have to find him, and religiously you cannot find him. Don't you know, for example, this is not a judge, but don't you know, like, what's some jobs that's haram, like someone who works for and he tows cars for the city. High potential for haram here. Very, very, very high potential. How he's going to avoid haram, I don't know. Because so many cases, they're just taking people's cars. Maybe most of the cases. They pull you over and don't tell you even they're going to take your car and they make you sit there. You have no idea. If you try to get out your car, they're going to tell you get back in your car. And you're not going to know until the tow truck comes. They want to tow your car. So, a'udhu billah, that's haram. Or the guy walks around, put tickets on people's window for reason. Or putting a boot on people's car so they can't drive their car away. It's haram. Imagine you get an order. It's your job. And then they call you, say, yeah, find this car, put a boot on there. You have no idea what's going on. You're just going to go put a boot on somebody's car? You can't do that. He says, is it permissible to be a divorce lawyer? I don't know. High potential for haram. Because Islamically, the man keeps his own money and the woman keeps her own money. So what you going to do? If you're a divorce lawyer and they don't want to do it Islamically, what are you going to do? You can't force either party to give his money to the other one. And you can't facilitate that. Is it haram to work in a bank? Well, see, here's the thing. Yani, it's not always going to be one thing that because of it, the whole thing is haram. But could be haram. Might be haram. Depends. Could possibly be haram. I don't know. I don't know if it's haram to be a guard, security guard at a bank that deals in riba. I don't know. Or is it haram to be a teller at a bank that deals in riba? I don't know. If you're a teller, I don't know all what they do. As far as I can tell, they just give money and take money, put in your account, take out of your account. I don't know more than that. But you can't be a dishwasher at Burger King or McDonald's because you're going to be helping them do haram. That's going to be pretty unescapable, helping them do haram. Even mopping the floor, you can't be the floor mopper. Say, I'll just wash the dishes and mop the floors. So I won't deal with the haram food. You're still helping them. They can't function without you. You have to be careful here. Some officers, depends on what type of officer they are, it might be their job to keep families broke apart. Can't keep family broke apart. Can't stop people from taking care of their families, being with their families, and things like that. Yeah. Do I recommend that Muslims make jobs for Muslims in the West? Yeah, or do their own business if they can. Make jobs and hire Muslims, or do their own business. Ameen wa iyyakum. Otherwise, if you have no choice but to work for the kuffar, then you're going to have to maneuver because they mix the halal and the haram.